Brandon Fugal versus the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Okay, we've got to talk about it. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I'll talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, so the other day, Stephen Greenstreet interviewed the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I had no interest in watching that video, but everybody was telling me, hey, Jack, you've got to watch that video. There's some interesting stuff in there. So I sat down and I took a look at it, really not expecting much, but the last 5 minutes were really interesting. And that's where Stephen Greenstreet actually questions Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely SK. Actually questions him in regards to the meeting with Brandon Fugal. And at the end of the day, Stephen Greenstreet can't decide who's telling the truth, Brandon Fugal, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, or Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. So what's under dispute? Well, it all comes down to a meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2018 where Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, was present, according to Brandon Fugal, and he said, well, let's just get into his exact quotes, what Sean Kirkpatrick said, and this is extremely important. He said, and I can't play the video of Brandon relating the story because there's music in the background and I'll get a copyright claim, but here's the words. He says, they're at the meeting in 2018 in Washington, D.C., and Brandon says, I was interrupted by a gentleman at the head of the table, and he said, wait, before we proceed any further, I want to establish an understanding. All of the gentlemen here, Mr. Fugal, that you're presenting to, are all very well aware of the reality of UFO phenomena. This is Sean Kirkpatrick saying this. So please dispense with any part of your presentation that would seek to convince us of the reality, because we already know. This from the guy that says there's no such things as UFOs, right? If we had enough sensor data, we could explain everything away as a mundane incident. There's certainly no aliens. Yeah, who said that? Stephen Greenstreet asks. One of the individuals leading the discussion, and that is, of course, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Can't get any more lovely. So Brandon Fugal says that he has photos and videos to prove that Sean Kirkpatrick was there, because Sean Kirkpatrick is saying he wasn't there. And, of course, he never said any of that, because he would be outed for the disinformation agent that he clearly is. And I've gone over his background and his career multiple times before, showing you why I think he's not just some disinterested bureaucrat that doesn't like UFOs and isn't interested and isn't a believer. Oh, he believes. He's been working on UFOs. He's been reverse engineering UFOs. He's worked at 3 different companies associated with reverse engineering UFOs. So, and he's had a career in intelligence, in the science part of intelligence. So, yeah. All right, but let's see. Let's get into the proof, because Brandon Fugal said he could back this up, that Sean Kirkpatrick was there. And let me mute my head in case I am blocking that view of the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I wouldn't want to mute your view of old Sean there, lovely Sean. So, yeah, so Sean was at this meeting. And there you go. You got Eric Bard, you got James Lukatsky, you got Brandon Fugal, clearly in this beautiful conference room here in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, so Sean Kirkpatrick was there. Sean Kirkpatrick was there. So let's get over to Stephen Greenstreet's comments here, because I would love it if Stephen Greenstreet would get on board. You know, he seemed to be flirting with believing in UFOs for a while, and he did the basement office with Nick Pope, and I was thinking that maybe he could be an ally of UFO disclosure, and instead he just became a troll. But could this whole thing change his mind? Could he now see that the people in charge of the UFO cover-up are in fact disinformation agents? Well, let's see what he says. Update to my reporting. Brandon Fugal has provided photos of a purported 2018 Skinwalker Ranch briefing in Washington, D.C. that seems to show Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Sean Kirkpatrick, in attendance. Kirkpatrick admitted to me that he attended a briefing and that Hal Puthoff and Kit Green were there, as shown in this photo. But he says he doesn't remember Skinwalker Ranch ever being mentioned, that he doesn't recall ever meeting Fugal, and that he thinks it was in 2017 instead of 2018. So yet another weird twist on all this. Thank you, Mr. Fugal, for the photo. Should note that both the Department of Defense and the Senate Armed Services Committee were both very, very sketchy with me about this briefing. Interesting. I wonder why. So people are saying this must be how Brandon Fugal is feeling right about now. Good job exposing SK, sir. I love it. I love it. You go, Brandon. But Brandon does say that I take no joy in having to present this. Well, I take joy in it, Brandon. I take enough joy for both of us, so there's that. In fact, he says, I had no intention of ever releasing those images. I was not going to stand by any further and allow my integrity to be called into question. I have worked very hard to be transparent, sincere, and honest in all that I have presented. And I've got to hand it to Brandon. He really comes across as sincere and dedicated. And I've come to like Brandon a lot. Yeah, at first I thought he was kind of a cold fish, but I warmed up to him. And he has done great work. Skinwalker Ranch is such a good show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And Michelangelo is commenting on it as well. Sean Kirkpatrick responds to the allegations by Brandon Fugal that Kirkpatrick attended a 2018 briefing in Washington, D.C. According to Brandon, Kirkpatrick was leading the briefing, and Kirkpatrick said during the briefing that he was already fully aware of the reality of the UFO phenomenon. Sean Kirkpatrick says he didn't say that and denies he was leading the briefing. It's still not clear if Kirkpatrick was actually at the meeting, and Kirkpatrick says he doesn't remember meeting Brandon. But what's important about this is that Brandon responds. He says, I am telling the truth. On April 19th, 2018, my team from Skinwalker Ranch was asked to provide a confidential briefing in Washington, D.C. to the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and United States Armed Services Committee. Sean Kirkpatrick was at the head of the table. And indeed he was. These are right there. Hopefully my head isn't blocking that out. And then there's a group photo of Eric Bard and all the gang there. So, this is an event that did happen. And guess who was there looking with all his smiling, charming, lovely self? Of course he was there. And of course he knows all about UFOs, guys. He has been lying his butt off this whole time. I wouldn't be surprised if he took some sort of class in how to make UFOs boring, or the discussion of UFOs boring. I mean, I think that's even a part of his shtick, right? We're going to bore people to death. We're going to say it doesn't exist, and we're going to bore them about the discussion of it not even existing. I think that's his shtick, right? That's his shtick. I wonder if that's a learned shtick, if he studied that somewhere. Because he's good at it. He is good at it. Part of the reason I didn't want to watch that interview. Oh my God, he puts me to sleep. But he puts me to sleep in an angry way. It's an angry sleep. All right. Anyway, but there you go, guys. Brandon Fugal exposing Sean Kirkpatrick for what he is, a disinformation agent, a tool of the UFO control group, part of the cover-up. Not a passive non-believer that doesn't want to get involved in all this and isn't willing to look into it. Oh, he's looked into it, guys. He's looked into it. So yeah, we need to be asking him questions about UFOs. If he would pony up, Sean Kirkpatrick has probably got a lot of answers that we would like to know. But he's not going to pony up, guys. He's not going to pony up. So kudos to Green Street for asking these questions, and kudos to Brandon for supplying the proof. Love it. Let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the like button and the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, links below. Love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in an even bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member, because channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.